Welcome everyone to the FY21 Engineering Directorate Career Workshop. My name is Carole Reed and I'm a Program Director in CBET, which is the Chemical, Bioengineering, Environmental, and Transport Systems Division. I manage a discipline program called Electrochemical Systems, and I'm also the current chair of NSF's Career Coordinating Committee that sets policy across the foundation for this program. This slide kind of shows you the outline of what we're going to be covering today in this presentation. First, we'll talk about the career program and how it really is a strategic plan for your career, and it is very different from unsolicited proposals that you may have already submitted to the foundation. We'll talk about finding a program home. This is the program that you'll submit your career proposal to, and talk about some strategies that you could use to identify what is the best program home for your research topic. We'll talk about the review criteria that career program uses and the process, and then a summary. The Faculty Early Career Development Program, or CAREER, is one of many NSF funding opportunities for new investigators, meaning those investigators who have not yet received NSF funding. All NSF programs support new investigators, and this is through the core programs and also through special topic solicitations. And also on this slide, we have some statistics on research proposal submittals from new investigators. So the take-home message from this slide is, yes, CAREER is targeted to early career faculty, but it's not the only program at NSF that funds new investigators. The career solicitation is NSF 20-525, and you should write down that number and Google it and download the document and read it multiple times, because it really contains the objectives and goals of the career program. And so it's very important to read the solicitation many times so it really resonates with you. The objective is to really identify and fund those faculty who have the potential to serve as academic role models in research and education and to lead advances in the mission of their department or organization. The career program objective is to build a firm foundation for a lifetime of leadership in integrating education and research. And this is one distinguishing factor that differentiates the career program from unsolicited programs. It has these two pillars of emphasizing development of the faculty as both an educator and a researcher. And it really aims to provide stable 5-year support to enable awardees to develop careers not only as outstanding researchers, but also as effective, committed educators. This slide gives you important information. First of all, again, read the solicitation, NSF 525, and a number of your questions on the solicitation are also answered in a document, NSF 20-025. This is the facts document. So definitely obtain both of those documents. The solicitation, again, has very deep discussions about the aims of the solicitation and also the importance of integrating education and research. And the facts covers a number of commonly asked questions, such as eligibility questions. You can find answers in that document as well. The due date this year is July 26, 2021 at 5 p.m. local time for everyone. So there's one deadline again, and this is a Monday for across the foundation. These are 5-year projects. Your proposal should also be compliant with the current proposal and award policies and procedures guide, the PAPG 20-1. We also have upcoming foundation-wide career webinars on May 14th or 20th from 1 to 3. It's going to be the same program. It's going to be a presentation followed by a Q&A session. This slide just summarizes revisions compared to the previous version of the career proposal solicitation. Again, the current version is 20-525. The main change from previous version is that the PI needs to meet eligibility criteria as of the annual deadline. For this year, this is July 26th at 5 p.m. local time. There's only one deadline that applies to all career submissions. It also clarifies the criteria for those faculty who are not on assistant professor tenure track, but are on equivalent positions that may be eligible to submit to the career program. And please read the solicitation for the requirements for faculty who are in those type of positions. This slide summarizes the eligibility criteria for the investigator, and it's important to, again, read the solicitation 525 for the exact language, the full language of eligibility criteria. You must hold a doctoral degree by the proposal deadline. You must be untenured and employed in at least a 50% tenure track or tenure track equivalent assistant professor or equivalent title position at an eligible institution as of the annual deadline. You must have both research and educational responsibilities, have not previously received a career award, and have had not more than 2 career proposals reviewed previously. And so this does not include proposals that were returned without review or withdrawn. As a reminder, in the current version of the solicitation, any non-tenure track faculty is potentially eligible as long as your position is equivalent to assistant professor tenure track position. Now, adjunct faculty are not eligible. You must have an appointment that is expected to last the 5 years of a career award and have substantial research and educational goals and responsibilities as part of your position. It should be equivalent to pre-tenure, and all other eligibility requirements also apply. And as of all eligibility is certified in the departmental letter that is a required piece of the proposal. You may be asked, should I submit a career proposal or an unsolicited proposal? What we call a regular proposal really means unsolicited proposal. So career proposals are single PI projects, and they have these 2 pillars of including both research and education activities that are integrative, innovative, and ambitious. Career proposals require a letter of support from the department chair, and it is in that departmental letter that eligibility is certified, and also that the department supports the project, particularly both the research and education activities that you have put forward as part of your project. The career program's aims are lofty. Career awards are a lot of work. It's a 5-year project, and so you have to ask yourself and your mentors, are you at the right stage of your academic career to undertake the commitments of a career award? Have you discussed your ideas with mentors, peers, or program officers, or your departmental chair? And have you demonstrated commitment to both research and education? The career proposal has a number of ingredients. It is a 5-year project, and it is really an integrated plan for both research and education activities that are ambitious but feasible, can be done within this 5-year period. It provides a compelling argument that the project will really achieve effective integration between the education and research activities, so they both inform and enrich each other. It contains a required departmental letter that establishes eligibility for the investigator to to submit to the career program, and also demonstrates commitment to the career development of the investigator. Depending upon how you structure your project, you may have letters of collaboration, and you have a budget that really is consistent with the scope of research and education activities. We're frequently asked about the budget. For the career solicitation for engineering, there's a minimum budget of $500,000 for the 5-year project, and that includes indirect costs and overhead. Read the solicitation, NSF 20-525 in the facts, and you follow the requirements in the PAPG 20-1. The career budget of your project should reflect the scope of the research and education plans and the practices within your discipline. Again, there's a minimum for engineering of $500,000. Final budgets are negotiable if selected for award, and you should consider financial support for you as a PI and for a graduate student. And it's important to talk about typical budgets with the program officer of the program that you're going to submit your career proposal to. So first of all, as a reminder, career proposals are all about you as an investigator to form that firm foundation for you as a researcher and educator. And so no co-PIs are allowed on the cover sheet of a career proposal. But you, depending upon the type of project that you're designing, you could include senior personnel or collaborators, including, for example, for evaluation and assessment. In the solicitation, it allows you to include senior personnel as part of the project budget. And budget for evaluation can be included. But it's important to consider that the collaborators or senior personnel that you include, their roles should be limited. There should not be a perception that they have a contribution that is perceived to the level of a co-investigator or co-PI, because again, the career proposal is all about the PI. And so any senior personnel or collaborators you include as part of your project should be a minor contribution to the project's intellectual merit, broader impacts, and integration of education and research. And if you include any collaborative arrangements, you should also include letters of collaboration that follow the guidance in the PAPG 20-1. The career proposal also requires a departmental letter, which has a maximum of 2 pages. And I've really pasted the requirements of the departmental letter in part from the solicitation. So again, review solicitation 525 for the complete requirements. But a key purpose of the departmental letter is really establishing the PI's eligibility for the career program. So we get a number of questions on whether a PI is eligible for the career program. So it's important to read the solicitation on eligibility requirements. But in the end, NSF does not determine eligibility. It is really through this departmental letter that establishes that the institution states that the PI is eligible given the career eligibility criteria. And for those who are in a non-tenure track position, the departmental letter affirms the investigator's appointment is at equivalent to an assistant tenure track position for the 5 years of the project. It also describes how the department will support and mentor the faculty and support the research and education goals that are outlined in the career proposal. When you're formulating your career proposal, think of it as your strategic plan for your career. Where are you today? Where do you want to be in terms of your career as a researcher and educator? And how will you get there? What is your legacy? What is what you want to be known for? This really is a broad stroke outline of what your career proposal will do. It has this kind of focus of establishing in your career, but it also is a 5-year project that contains research and education activities that are doable within the 5-year period of the project.
So basically, the strategic plan should really build on your strengths. And this kind of thought experiment is best done to really, before you write your career proposal, will basically guide the types of items that you'll want to include in the actual project as you design it. It's important to differentiate what you're going to do from your PhD thesis work or other sponsored work. And it's important to really do a very thorough literature search so that you're providing an argument of how you're distinguishing this particular research project from others in the field. Your proposal, your career proposal, should really tell a story of how it's advancing you along your strategic plan. And it should be a stepping stone to the next thing. It should be compatible with your institution's goals and should represent a contribution to society at large. Again, the career proposal is a specific project, so we're laying out a 5-year project with both research activities, education activities, and activities as you think appropriate to support the broader impacts that really form a firm foundation for you as a researcher and educator, and that will have an impact both intellectually and for the broader impacts. I want to emphasize again that the Career Award is not a research award. It does have a research component, but it's not a 5-year unsolicited type project. It really is a career development award, a professional development award that has both research and educational components. And your proposal really should reflect this focus. So an important part of your homework is really finding a research home. So first of all, we want to make sure for NSF that you're proposing scientific fundamental research, because that's the types of projects that we fund. And then the next thing is for you to do is determine what program really best aligns with the types of research questions that you're going to be proposing. So again, as another tool, you might want to put together your elevator speech of what is your research objective, what is the key research questions that you're including, and why, what fundamental knowledge would result from that, and why is it important, as a tool to kind of communicate with program officers. So NSF is arranged according to topics, and so here I have all the directorates of NSF, but since we are in engineering, and this is the Engineering Career Workshop, I'll just really focus on engineering. Again, engineering has 5 divisions, but you do not submit your proposal to a division such as I've shown. You submit it to a program, and so that's a really important point as part of your homework of determining what program I should submit my proposal to. So for example, just in CBET, we have, I think, 16 or 17 different programs that you could submit your career proposal. So again, this is a lot of legwork and homework that you need to do as part of your proposal preparation.
So you have done the initial work of formulating what research questions and what educational aims you will have as part of your career project, and begun to formulate how you might integrate these two main facets of your career proposal. Next step is you want to do your homework on what program you submit to. So again, NSF is very broad. If you're doing fundamental research that is not disease related, so for example, that might be under NIH, there is a home for you at NSF for your fundamental research proposal. But it takes a lot of legwork to really find the program that most aligns with your research objectives of your project. And in the end, it is your decision on which program to submit to. So you want to make sure you've done your legwork to really find the program that most aligns to what you want to do. So first of all, look at NSF's website, and each of the directorates and then divisions under that would have a web page that has all their research programs. So each research program would have a web page where you can see the program director or program directors who are managing that program and their contact information. And it will have a description of the types of research projects that program covers, basically its portfolio. At the bottom of every research program description is a link that you can see for what has been funded through that program, and through that link you can obtain the abstracts. And also you want to also search for workshops in the topics that may align with what you want to do, to also see what is the rest of the community addressing in terms of the research area that you have chosen. On the webpage nsf.gov, you will also find rudimentary capabilities to search for awards by both keyword and also program, also through directorate, whether the project is active or if the project has already been completed. And so you can use this as a tool to also find other programs that might be funding research in kind of the area of research questions that you're thinking of including as part of your career proposal. This page just gives you a sample of what comes up when you look at a particular award that might be on the website. It will give you the information on the program that funded it, the project budget, when it was active, and the program officer, and also it will also give you the abstract. Project award abstracts are, I'm showing you one example from the website. They're typically 2 paragraphs. Sometimes we're asked whether proposals are available from NSF, and they are not available. NSF does not provide proposals even of projects that are awarded, but we do provide abstracts of the projects that have been awarded, and that can provide some information of the types of research that project covers.
After you've done really significant homework, reading the project descriptions, reflecting on them, looking at what has been funded in addition to your own literature searches, then I think we really encourage you to contact program directors really sequentially, one at a time, to really get their input on program fit. And so to do this, it's best to put together your draft 1-page project summary. This is part of your career proposal, so this is not a wasted effort. At a minimum, it has a paragraph of an overview, a paragraph of what the project's intellectual merit is, and a paragraph of what the broader impacts is. And since this is a career proposal, you may also want to indicate your strategy for integrating the education and research, and use that as a tool. So put together this 1-page project summary, and then use it as a tool to to communicate with program officers sequentially, one at a time. So what your program director can do for you is really give their opinion of what we call program fit. This is basically an indication of what the reviewers in that program are basically looking for, the types of research questions, the types of approaches, and such. And they can give advice on common proposal prep errors and help you understand the review of a previous proposal if this is you're resubmitting a declined proposal. And they're really basically trying to give you an opinion of these things, both program fit and the review environment. So it's really important to take note of what the program officer is telling you in terms of their opinion, and really reflect on that. So there's some questions in this conversation we'd appreciate you didn't really cover because they're really not useful, and a lot of times they're not really appropriate. I'll just list them. We're not going to tell you what to do in terms of what particular research question you do, or what you should work on, or whether one idea is better than the other, or such things as I list in this slide. Really stick to understanding both program fit and the review environment. So you could ask a program director of how do they do their career panels typically. Of course, we're not asking for exact reviewer names, but it could be a program officer typically has one career panel. And so the diversity of topics that would be on that panel, the types of disciplines, of the expertise of reviewers that would be on that panel, because that's your audience. You're writing to the reviewers. You're not writing to the program director or yourself. You're writing to the reviewers. So it's important that you understand that aspect of the how it's going to review, what we call the review environment. Now I'll cover the review considerations, the criteria that the reviewers use to basically evaluate your proposal. Again, it's important to read the criteria. They are in the solicitation. The criteria are NSF standard criteria for all projects of the intellectual merit, which is really the potential that your research has to advance the knowledge base in the field that you're working in. The broader impacts, and I'll talk a little bit more about both of these, are the benefit to societal outcomes. And then since this is a career proposal, we also have the integration of education and research. And it really describes a series of activities where they feed and enrich each other, and really, again, help form that firm foundation for you as both an educator and a researcher. So intellectual merit, again, this is potential for your research to advance the knowledge base, or NSF, so we want to focus on fundamental knowledge. And so here's some key questions that you want to basically consider to answer for the reviewers of, what is already known, having a really rich literature search, really establishing that there is a gap in knowledge in the research area of the type of topic that you're talking about. What is new? What will your research add? And how will you do it? So it's not enough to have a good idea. You have to have a reasonable approach and resources to complete this. And how will this research and the fundamental knowledge that results from the research advance your field? Broader impacts, in a lot of ways, I think is a more difficult criteria because it can be addressed in so many different ways, but it really focuses on benefits of the research and the educational outcomes of the project to society. And so it's very broad, so we can be looking at economic, environmental, or energy impacts, education, broadening participation, improving infrastructure, such as research and education infrastructure as examples. So the key question that you want to really cover in the broader impacts is, how will the research results be applied, and why would the general public care? So really keep that in mind. For both criteria, both intellectual merit and broader impacts, there are these 5 key review elements that apply to both. And again, all these criteria, the exact language is in the solicitation. So again, this is part of your review of the solicitation, really reading it and having it really resonate with you. And so what the reviewers are looking for is really the potential of the activity to, in the case of intellectual merit, really advancing fundamental knowledge in this field or cross fields. And also the broader impact is this benefit to society or advancing desired societal outcomes. And so we're looking for creative, originally, and potentially transformative concepts. And again, this applies to both the broader impacts and the intellectual merit. And it's not enough to have a good idea. You want to be able to implement it. And so the reviewers are looking for the plan to execute these activities. Are they well reasoned? Are they well organized? Are they based on sound rationales? And is there plans to incorporate a mechanism to assess success? We are looking for the qualifications of the individual to basically implement and conduct these proposed activities. And we want to make sure there's adequate resources available to the PI, either at the home institution or through collaborations, to carry out these proposed activities. And again, all 5 elements apply to both the intellectual merit and broader impacts. So a distinguishing feature of a career proposal is this integration of education and research. So it is important, and it should have an integrated research and education plan at their core. So NSF does not prescribe how this is done. There's no single approach. We really encourage applicants to think creatively about how their research will impact their educational goals, and conversely, how the educational activities really enrich your research program. Again, the career project is a specific 5-year project with a level of activities that can be accomplished within that period. So you want to provide a well-argued and specific activities that would form this firm foundation for a lifetime of contributions to research and education. So NSF really encourages, again, to think creatively about this reciprocal relationship between your research and education activities of this 5-year project and how they really inform each other and really enrich your career as both an educator and a researcher. So it should be aligned with the goals of your organization and your department. We realize, depending upon organization and department, there's different expectations. And so that's why NSF doesn't have any prescriptions of what should be included. And that's an important point. NSF does not have any prescribed activities to achieve the intellectual merit, the broader impacts, or the integration of education and research. You might have a thought in your head that NSF is looking for specific features, but that's not true. NSF does not have a specific requirement that a project must include a particular activity to achieve the criteria. And so really read the career program solicitation. Again, I'll keep emphasizing that because it really is important for some examples, but these are examples and they're not and it's not prescribed. So we also encourage you to really think about assessment and evaluation, particularly about the impact of the education activities. We recognize that this is a discipline in itself, and so this might be a component that you include as part of a collaboration or through a senior personnel. And also we give you a reference on that to include as part of your career project. So it's important what I kind of mentioned before of the review environment. We've just covered the criteria and the important theme of program fit. And now it's time to review your career proposal. Again, across the foundation, how this is done depends upon the culture of the various directorates and divisions, but it's important to know that in engineering, we have dedicated career review panels, meaning that a panel will just contain all career proposals in that panel. Typically, 4 reviews are submitted before the panel convenes, and all proposals are discussed by the panel. So we do not what we call triage career proposals. All career proposals will get your reviews and a panel summary. This is an important aspect to kind of understand from the program director in terms of the review environment of how they typically put together panels. They might have more than one career panel depending upon their number of submissions. And, how is that typically made up? You want to, the diversity of topics, the academic backgrounds, the typical disciplines that are sitting on a panel. And so that's part of understanding the review environment, because you are writing your proposal for the experts in your topic, but you're also writing your career proposal for reviewers that are sitting next to these people who basically also decide on the final basically evaluation of your proposal. So it is a diverse audience that you're typically writing to in a career proposal. It's important to note that there's no quotas for number of awards for a given program, and no threshold in terms of mean of the individual ratings.
Thank you for your time for listening to this presentation. I want to give you some take-home messages on final thoughts on strategies for putting together your career proposal. Again, in the end, you're writing to the reviewers. The reviewers are using the intellectual merit, broader impacts, and integration of education and research criteria to evaluate your proposal package. They need to know a few things in general. What is your project about? You should be very clear on your project's research objective and why you want to do it, its importance to the field. It's not enough to have a good idea. You have to be able to implement it, and that is the technical approach. We also want to know that you can do it, and again, that is your expertise and your facilities. And is it worth doing? Again, what fundamental knowledge would result, and that supports the intellectual merit, and the impacts to society, and that's the broader impacts. And since this is a career proposal, again, it has these 2 pillars of providing the foundation for your career as both a leader and as an education leader and also researcher leader. And this is basically what the proposal needs to convey to the reviewers, who are the prime audience of your proposal. Just to reemphasize it once again, it is your proposal package that the reviewers are evaluating, and so they can't extrapolate from there and try to figure out what you really meant. So it's very clear that you have a very compelling, clear story. So we encourage you to get your proposal done early so you have sufficient time for you to have it read by colleagues to make clear that the arguments you have in the proposal are very clear to them and how you're addressing the intellectual merit, the broader impacts, and that story that you're telling on how you're integrating education and research. So it really provides a compelling story on how this 5-year project will establish you as both a researcher and an educator and a leader that supports your institution and your field. So in conclusion, one of the best ways on learning how to put together a better proposal, both for any kind of proposal to NSF, unsolicited, a solicitation, or even the career proposal, is to volunteer to be a reviewer. And it's also an important service to your community. And there's no better way to see how the review process works than to serve as a reviewer. And you'll also get new understanding on what makes a proposal compelling to the reviewers. So how do you do this? Email program officers that align with your expertise, and it's probably more than one program, and email that program officer your 2-page bio sketch. And it's helpful in the email to also kind of give keywords on your expertise area and ask that program officer to be considered to be a reviewer in a future panel or written ad hoc review that they're considering, and that then you can get that practice. Thank you again for your time and listening to this presentation, and I hope you enjoy the workshop and hope you find it fruitful in putting together your career proposal and other unsolicited proposals for NSF. And again, don't hesitate to contact a program officer. We're really here to serve you and the community.